and welcome to your writing instruction for today, Willing or Willful Wednesday. Let's jump in and get started. So step number 1 was to attack the prompt. When you attack the prompt, you read the prompt to see what type of writing that you're doing. Here is our writing prompt. It says the articles talk about new ways drones are being used. Write an essay in which you explain how drones will change our lives in the future. Use information from the passages in your essay. Remember, all of the writing right beneath your writing task is just information to help you be successful and to kind of tell you how to write your essay. So the first thing I want to look at if I'm going to attack my prompt are key words from the writing prompt. The first thing I see is that the writing prompt tells me to explain how drones will change our lives. And one key word I noticed that sticks out is the word explain. This tells me that I am not writing my opinion. This writing prompt in no way asks for my personal opinion about anything. It asks me to explain something. That means I'm getting straight facts and straight information from the text. Now, your step 2 is to read both articles to come up with a focus, or another word for focus is a main idea for each article to form your thesis. Now, if you want to be successful at your writing and actually learn how to write an essay, you will follow every single step that is mentioned every single day in your video. So this is the first thing that I want you to do today. Pause the video and then go ahead and reread the articles under the Files tab. Let me repeat that. Pause this video. Go to your General Classroom, click on the Files tab, and reread your articles that were put there yesterday. Let me say this. The instructions yesterday told you to click on the document titled Baseline Writing Assignment. Once you clicked on that, the very first thing you should have saw was your writing prompt. Right beneath the writing prompt, if you scroll down, attached are the 2 articles that you are supposed to be reading. If you did not scroll down, of course, you won't see the article, so you have to scroll down. The first article is titled Farmer Drones. The second article is titled, Will Amazon Change the World Again? So go ahead, pause the video, read the articles, and then come back to your video and finish listening to the rest of your instruction. I know many of you were able to locate the articles yesterday, and you were able to read the articles yesterday. But remember, our brains are not computers. We cannot remember every single thing that we read. So give yourself the best chance by actually rereading the information. All right, guys. So hopefully you paused the video and reread both of the articles. So the first thing we're going to start with is farmer drones. Now, you know our process for reading articles. We look at the title to help us make a prediction or give us some information or some sort of idea about what the article is going to be about. So when we talk about farmer drones, we're talking about, of course, a farmer. And many of us know that drones are kind of like robotic objects. So once you actually read through the articles, it starts out talking about right away about farmers and how Japan has used drones for a long time now. South Korea, talks about how South Korea has used them since 2009, and now how we're starting to see farmers in the United States to use drones, and how drones are kind of helping find different problems throughout the fields as farmers are working. They kind of fly over the fields. And it also talks about how these drones are now being used for different jobs. So I came up with 3 different ways of stating the main idea of this article. And remember, those 3 different ways, that's potentially going to be the point, the reason number 1 in my thesis statement. Because you got to think about it. If I'm thinking about a main idea statement, if I'm looking for my reason number 1 for my thesis, that's where that comes from, your main idea. Because the main idea basically is going to answer my writing prompt. The very first main idea I came up with after reading this article is that drones are going to change our lives by helping farmers do work. Another way of saying that same main idea is by saying that drones will help change our lives by improving production on farms. And when I say production, I'm talking about the different things that farms produce for us. Anything that a farm grows, they are producing that for us. Because when they grow those products, they then sell them to the grocery stores, and we go and we pick that up. So it's what we call production. So improving production on farms is just another way of saying it helps farmers do work. Last but not least, I see that the main idea, another way of saying that is that another way that drones will help change our lives is by assisting farmers with important jobs. So as you can see, my main idea statements that I came up with, those are my greens. They are the very first reason that will be stated in my thesis. Very first reason. Let me say this. You are free to use any one of these that you choose to use for the very first reason stated in your thesis statement. Because remember, your thesis is going to have your point and then 2 reasons why. Let's move on to the second article. So your second article is titled, Will Amazon Change the World Again? So I know that as a writer, you and I, or you because it's your assignment today, you have to come up with your main idea for this article as well. This article kind of starts out talking about Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon, and how it kind of began online as a bookstore, but it changed. It became something massive, something that sells everything as we know for today, because you can purchase just about anything on Amazon. But now Amazon is working on a way, the article states, to get packages to customers a lot quicker. Because think about it, right now we have to wait days before we can receive packages. You may not know that, but if you have parents or guardians that are using Amazon, we have to wait a little while before we actually get any of the objects or materials that we order offline. So Amazon is thinking about, as I read, I see that it was stating how Amazon is trying to create these drones that would actually fly the packages to us. That could really, as a reader, I have common sense, so I know that that could really cut down on the time that I, as a customer, would have to wait to get those packages. Another good thing is that it would cut out a lot of traffic on ground. Again, as common sense, I know that, being a good reader, that it'll take a lot of vehicles off of the road, and it'll improve things like transportation and accidents, things of that sort. So I'm just thinking about all of the many different ways that drones will actually change our lives. because I'm always going back to what my writing prompt is. So I came up with 3 different ways to state the main idea for this article, but being careful to make sure that I answer my prompt. So the first way is that drones will change our lives by increasing the transmission of products. Transmission just means transmitting, moving one thing from one place to another. And of course, we know when we say products, we're talking about those things that we're purchasing. The second way of saying the main idea, or another way of saying the exact same thing, increasing the transmission of products, I could also say as a reader, enhance distribution. We know from our last writing assignment that the word enhance means to make something better. The word distribution is just that, distribution, meaning distributing or passing out goods. So it's enhancing distribution just means to make distributing or passing out those goods a little bit better. Another way of saying the main idea would be to say that drones will change our lives because they will help deliver items quickly. So these are our blues. These will be the second reason stated in our thesis statement. Feel free to use any one of these as your second reason, unless you come up with another way of stating your thesis, which is perfectly fine. But just be careful to make sure that you get the general gist or understanding of each article as you're creating that thesis. That brings us to what you have to do today, your thesis statement. Remember, a thesis statement is a point plus 2 reasons, and it can be written in a certain form. Before I show you that form, I want to specifically state and say to you that your thesis statement is 1 sentence, not 2, not 3. I'm teaching you how to write 1 single thesis statement that is 1 sentence. That sentence is made up of a point and 2 reasons. So you ask yourself, where do I get my point? Where you get your point from your writing prompt. Your writing prompt asks you to explain how drones will change our lives. So then your point has to have come from that. And you know, if you truly read through those articles, that drones will change your lives for the better, right? And even though it's not asking for an opinion, as a reader, we have common sense, right? So we know that the changes that were mentioned in both of the articles, that those changes could potentially improve our world, could improve our lives. So your point will be that drones will change our lives. But then, of course, you have to add 2 reasons. So you have to tell why or how the drones will change our lives. So let's look at what our format will be for our thesis statement. You can say drones will change our lives because they blank. And remember, those will come from or derive from our first article that we read about the farmer drones. And I already gave you suggestions on a first reason. And remember, you've also been given suggestions on a second reason, which were those main idea points in blue. So this is one way of stating your thesis statement. Or if you want to add in there and say, hey, drones will change our lives for the better because they blank and blank. This is still an explanatory, or another way of saying that is an informative essay. So just remember, your opinion should be nowhere in here. When we say for the better, we're strictly basing that on the improvements that were stated in the article, but being careful not to add in our own thinking or understanding about it. When you're writing an informative prompt, you're simply dealing with the facts that are stated in the article. So nowhere in your writing, once you get to that point, will you say anything about I think or my opinion is, because remember, in an informative essay, you are not at all to state what you think or how you feel. You are only dealing with what the authors stated. When you're done listening to this video, go ahead and create a thesis statement. Your task is to use any of the focus or main idea points that I use throughout this video to create your thesis statement. Just please remember to keep a written copy of your writing plan, okay? Once you are done, please go to your assignments tab for writing and go ahead and begin on your writing plan. To begin your writing plan, remember the first thing that we do is a thesis statement. This will be what we call a working document. So even though you are submitting your thesis statement today, you're going to use the writing plan over and over again each day. So let's see how many people pay attention, because the last thing I'm going to say is do not submit your writing plan to me online. You will not be submitting your plan to me until Friday. So let me say that again. Do not click submit on your writing plan to me today. You will not submit your writing plan to me until Friday. Happy writing.